Right, James, this is your second season now in MotoGP. How's it going so far?
This year's been a difficult start. In the winter time, I had a few flying lessons, and I've been, as I say, started on the back foot with some injuries. I was really lucky not to break anything in the crashes that I have had, the biggest crashes of my career so far, and but luckily got away with just bruising, and so it's not been the best of starts, but we've qualified in the top 10. We've had 2 top 10 results now, and getting back to where we should be in that top 6 position. I got a bad start in the last race and finished 13th or something. After 10th, I don't even count, so it doesn't interest me. But yeah, it's all come back together again after a poor start with the injuries, really.
And those injuries meant that you missed out on a bit of qualifying time, I think, as well, didn't it? You know, pre-season testing, that kind of thing. How does that affect your confidence, and how did that affect you starting the season off?
Well, obviously, massive crashes dents the confidence slightly, but more so than that is, like you say, the time off the bike. And you only get your confidence back by being on the bike and getting back up to speed again. And I wasn't able to do that because I was injured. And then really, we only had 3 pre-season tests before the season started, and I was almost kind of testing on the bike as the season started in the races, which wasn't ideal. It meant that I didn't get off to such a good start, which I did last year. But we're still digging deep, and everything's come back together again, and I'm really looking forward to the next few races at Assen. Obviously there's a lot of British people go over there into Holland, it's close to the UK. And then we've got Laguna Seca, which has always been a favourite of mine, and then obviously if I can get around the first corner at Donington this year, I'll be happy.
Yeah, excellent. And last year you struggled with some of the rounds because it was the first time you'd ever been on those kind of tracks. There was a lot of tracks last year that you weren't familiar with. Now obviously this year you've had a bit of time on them, obviously with the racing last year, but they're perhaps still not ones that you're over familiar with. How are you feeling about those?
Yeah, there was 8 out of the 18 rounds, so it was nearly half of the season was learning new tracks, which is difficult. It's not so much difficult learning the tracks, but to get within a second of the world's best, and is a tough call, only having a couple of hours on that particular track. So, but we had a good shot at it last year. We learnt them, and this year it's going well. And surprisingly, I had my best results, or some of my best results, on the tracks I didn't know. So I had a couple of 6th places at some new ones last year, but they're all great tracks on the GP calendar. So I've really enjoyed learning them.
And you mentioned before about sort of last year how you out-qualified Valentino Rossi. Do you still find it sort of quite difficult and quite sort of strange when you're lining up on the grid next to people like Rossi and Stoner and that? Is it still sort of a kind of, oh my god, I can't believe I'm next to those kind of people, or have you got more used to it now?
No, it was never that anyway. I'm a competitor, and everybody's out there to be beaten. So if you're in that kind of aura of someone, then you obviously don't class yourself as a similar kind of talent, and I always have done, and it's not that at all. Everybody's on the grid to be. I've got no friends on the grid once my helmet's on, but obviously I've got a lot of respect for what people have achieved in that class. I think there's 12 or 13 world champions in MotoGP from 250s in Superbike, and it's a pleasure to ride against the elite.
Definitely, and what a race last week between Rossi and Lorenzo.
I think Yamaha are pulling their hair out at the moment. They've never had both of their riders challenging into the last corner, but obviously they're chuffed a bit. I mean, the development they've done on the factory bike this year has been amazing, and I think it's the first time in a long time that Casey Stoner's Ducati couldn't whiz past them on the straight. It was nice to see that Yamaha have done so much work, because their first 800 engine compared to that Ducati was really down on power, as we can remember, and in 18 months you can see it's on par with it now, so they're doing a great job, Yamaha.
You went to MotoGP last season as a twice world champion in Superbikes. How much different is it between a Superbike and the bike in MotoGP, and how much more have you got used to that for this season than last season?
The differences from last year to this year are just amazing, because development never stops in MotoGP. It's always constant development, and from race to race you can have new bits on the bike.
And things will keep going as the season progresses. Things will keep developing with your bike and the other bikes as well. And you never know what's going to happen to the end of the season. What other parts you're going to have?
I would like some parts. If this goes to Mr. Yamaha, I'd like some parts. We haven't had as much support as last year, unfortunately, with the credit crunch. Yamaha has also felt that squeeze as well, and they've obviously only been able to support the factory team a a little bit more than it was last year. So we are a little bit more behind than last year on engine spec. Really, the chassis and everything is the same as the factory teams, but it would be nice to have an updated engine spec. But it's still capable of in that top 6 position, and that's what I'm looking forward to achieving.
And you mentioned the credit crunch there. Now that's had an effect on MotoGP, as with everything else. The qualifying sessions have been changed times, and there's the one tyre rule and everything as well. Now, how much do you think it's changed this season from last season?
Oh, a hell of a lot, especially the tyre rule. The tyres are so much different to the Michelins I was used to last year. Now we're all on Bridgestone tyres, and this is one reason why I had the massive crashes in winter, was the lack of experience on them. I thought I'd got a certain amount of grip and 140 miles an hour. I found out that I didn't. But you know, this is all lack of experience with all the new changes. And from year to year, because development never stops, from year to year, it's amazing what differences there are.
And let's just talk about Donington now. Obviously, last year that was your first home MotoGP, as a MotoGP rider, and you were really looking forward to it, but it didn't quite go to plan, did it? So you must be looking forward to it. It's coming up in the next few weeks now.
Yeah, 26th of July it is. Can't wait. Yeah, there was over 90,000 people there. It was the biggest ever crowd for a motorcycle race ever, which was quite an honour. I had a terrible qualifying. I fell off in qualifying, which put me on the back row of the grid, and I thought, well, I'm going to be hero or zero, so I tried to be a hero into the first corner and crashed, broke my footrest off and broke my hand, and then carried on doing 30 laps with a broken hand and one footrest. And I was still 1 second quicker than I was on the superbike when I beat Troy Bayliss there the year before, so I was quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I finished bang last and got lapped, so it wasn't the ideal weekend, but it was, could have been so much better. But the circumstances with the weather and me crashing, it wasn't so good. I'm looking forward to this year. It is obviously, it's Formula 1 this weekend, and I'm sure Lewis and Jensen are looking forward to their home race like I do in Donington. The support's just been absolutely incredible. To say that I've gone from winning a lot in superbikes, and that builds fans' confidence up, and that also builds a fan base up when you're winning because of the popularity. Everybody likes a winner, especially the UK. Since I've moved to MotoGP, it hasn't been all rosy. It's been a hard struggle in a few places, but I knew it would be. But they've stuck there with it. They've been patient. There is a minority that stick the knife in a bit, but the majority have been absolutely incredible. In Catalonia, I think, other than the 46 number plates around the track, I think the second one was the English flags. So it's been amazing support, and I hope to reward them for the patience, especially at Donington, obviously.
And your results have been picking up. You've been qualifying quite well anyway, just lately, so you must be quite confident.
Well, I was less than 1/10 of a second off 5th position, and I'm 9th on the grid, and that's how close it is. I got a bad start in the race, and I went into the first corner 16th, and I managed to get back to 30th. But when everybody's going the same speed, you can't make back up to 9th or 6th again. Wherever you start, you finish. So that's why qualifying is so important, because if I can start in the 5th and 6th place, I can stay there. But if you start in 12th, 12th place is still doing the same speed as 6th. So you've got to start off where you need to be finishing.
So what are you hoping for from the rest of the season? Have you got your eyes set on where you want to finish in the table, that kind of thing, or are you just sort of hoping that things pick up and see where it goes from there? Yeah,
I mean, obviously I was rock bottom at the first race, and then I've got myself up to 11th in the championship. Top 10 is obviously definitely doable, but the bike is capable of those top 6 positions, and all I want to do now is consistently be around that area. Not only for championship position, but also for my career and my job next year. There's no contract arranged for next year, and I've got to prove that I'm worthy of that ride and put that back where it deserves to be.
And obviously MotoGP is somewhere you want to stay for quite a long time.
Yeah, I know. I had 7 years in superbikes and won that twice, and I missed the winning, don't get me wrong, and everybody said, there's a lot of people that say you go back to superbikes, might put a bit of a smile on your face, but it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate challenge, and I'd prefer to take on the ultimate challenge in my life than go back to superbike just yet. Nothing against superbike at all, but I still feel like this challenge is doable, and I'll stick at it until I don't.